You know, when you pick up a crisp apple, you probably think about the orchard, right? Or a fresh head of lettuce, you picture the field. But what about the water? It's kind of the one ingredient that touches everything, and it has this totally invisible journey, from the farm to your food. So today, we're going to follow that journey and uncover the hidden risks and the system that's designed to protect all of us.
We all know water is absolutely essential for life. I mean, it's the foundation of all agriculture. But here's the thing. On the farm, water carries a secret. It can also be a hidden danger, the perfect vehicle for nasty contaminants that can make us really sick.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Should the water that's used to grow and wash your food be as clean as the water you drink? The answer? Well, it might actually surprise you, and it's at the very heart of modern food safety.
And here is the bottom line. It's not the soil, it's not the fertilizer, it's the water that presents the single biggest risk for contaminating our food. That's a pretty staggering thought, isn't it? So how in the world is that risk managed?
Well, the answer is a system. You can think of it like a safety blueprint for farming that's used all over the world. It's called Good Agricultural Practice, or just GAP for short, and it's designed to turn that huge risk into a manageable, controlled process. Now, GAP isn't just a list of friendly suggestions. Oh no, it is a comprehensive set of science-based rules. This whole system is about taking the guesswork out of farming and replacing it with hard data and proven practices to keep our food supply safe and sustainable.
And when it comes to water, GAP's mission is crystal clear. It has one simple but incredibly powerful goal: to make absolutely sure that the water used on the farm is a source of life and growth, and not a secret carrier for harmful bacteria and disease.
Okay, so how does GAP actually pull this off? It all starts by recognizing a fundamental truth. Not all water on a farm is the same. In fact, GAP divides it into two totally distinct categories, and each one has its own super strict set of rules.
So on one hand, you've got your irrigation water. This is the water used out in the fields, to help the crops grow. But then, on the other hand, you have post-harvest water. This is the water used after the crop has been picked, mostly for washing and cleaning it before it gets packed up. They have very different jobs, and as you're about to see, very different safety standards. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. We're looking at the allowable limits for generic E. coli, which is kind of the canary in the coal mine for potential fecal contamination. The units here are most probable number per 100 milliliters. So for irrigation water, the limit is under 1,000. But for post-harvest water, get this, it has to be under 100. And in many cases, the rule is 0. Not a single detection allowed. I mean, that is a massive, massive difference in standards. So what's with the huge gap? It all comes down to risk. Think about it. Out in the field, the sun and just time itself can help kill off some bacteria. But the second a fruit or vegetable is harvested, it loses those natural defenses. Any contamination in that wash water can jump directly onto the final product. That's called cross-contamination. And that's why post-harvest water has to be just as clean as the water you drink from your tap. No exceptions. All right, so farmers know they have these two different standards they have to meet. But how do they actually do it? This is where GAP provides a really clear, step-by-step process for guarding that water all the way from its source to the final spout. It all starts at the source. A farm using surface water, say from an open river or a pond, has a really high-risk profile. I mean, that water is exposed to runoff from other places, wildlife, you name it. Now compare that to a farm using low-risk groundwater or municipal tap water, which is already naturally filtered and protected. The starting point pretty much determines the entire game plan. And that game plan follows these 4 key steps. First, you assess the risk of your source. Makes sense. Second, you actively protect it. Maybe that means putting a fence around a pond to keep animals out. Third, you choose the absolute safest way to apply that water. And fourth, you are constantly maintaining the system to prevent any contamination. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. And that third step, how the water is applied, is so crucial. Drip irrigation, for example, is considered the safest method because it delivers water right to the plant's roots. It never even touches the part of the fruit or vegetable you eat. But sprinklers, they spray water everywhere, all over the leaves and the fruit, which creates a much higher risk of contaminating the final product. Okay, so GAP gives us the rules and the methods. But how does anyone actually know if it's working? How do you prove the water is safe? Well, that brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle, the evidence. The entire GAP system is basically built on the principle of trust but verify.
It's just not enough for a farmer to say their water is clean. They have to prove it with objective, scientific evidence. And that, of course, means regular testing.
So what exactly are they looking for? Well, it boils down to these big three. First and foremost, microbial contaminants, like that E. coli we talked about. But they also test for chemical residues, like pesticides that might have drifted over from other fields, and even heavy metals, if the farm happens to be near an industrial area. It's basically a full comprehensive health checkup for the water.
And these tests can't just be done by anyone in their backyard. They have to be performed by an accredited lab. This means the lab is certified to an international standard like ISO 17025, which guarantees its methods are sound, its equipment is calibrated, and its results are legally defensible. This is what makes the proof totally reliable.
All of this evidence, the initial risk assessment, all the lab results, the logs of when and where samples were taken, and any plans to fix problems that pop up, it all goes into a file. This creates a complete paper trail. So if there's ever a question about food safety, an inspector can trace every single drop of water from the source right to the final crop.
So, the next time you bite into a fresh strawberry or slice a tomato for a salad, maybe you'll think about this incredibly complex system working behind the scenes. This whole blueprint of risk assessments, standards, and scientific tests, all designed to manage that invisible journey of water and make sure the food on your plate is safe. It kind of makes you appreciate that simple piece of fruit just a little bit more, doesn't it?